Police have been searching the Chicopee and Connecticut rivers. Police, though, not revealing the specific times of when they're searching, but they're reminding everyone to not start up their own search parties and to leave the work up to them. Just days after 11-year-old Aiden Blanchard disappeared, Stephen Carl teamed up with several strangers to help look for him. He says as a tight-knit community, it is the least he and others can do.
We searched behind the Channel 22 news station. We searched those whole woods, and then we walked along the railroad tracks and the little hump that goes all the way to the boat ramp and then back to where he was.
Chicopee police putting up these flyers near Blanchard's home on Pulaski Avenue. He is 5 feet tall, weighing approximately 100 pounds. He was last seen wearing black snow pants over black sweatpants, a black hoodie, a red coat, and black boots. Investigators telling Fox 61 he was last seen leaving the Oldfield Road area to go to the boat ramp. Massachusetts State Police, Chicopee Police, Connecticut State Police, along with other local agencies, will be assisting in the search.
Basically informed us of certain resources that they might need to assist in the investigative efforts. This morning, members of the State Police Emergency Services Unit, specifically members of the State Police dive team, went out to the area to assist in search efforts.
Trooper Josu Durella says when it comes to missing children, the first few hours after they disappear are the most crucial. And in this incident, the most obvious places were initially searched.
Oftentimes when children are missing, we find that they may be in the most common places that you wouldn't think to look. Somewhere in a household closet, covering up underneath the bed.
Chicopee police say they have been using a sonar and a remotely operated camera with divers going underneath.
There was a lot of factors, including the weather. We had the air wing several days.
Chicopee police telling us at this rate it has become more of a recovery effort rather than a search effort. They're telling anyone who has any information or witnessed anything from that day to immediately come forward. Reporting in Chicopee, Massachusetts, Carmen Chow, Fox 61 News.